Okay, hey, welcome to the Community Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Johnston Lynch, here on Big Condo Online. Please like and subscribe, and as the new term now is, ring the bell and everything. And we endeavor to bring you interesting people from the community that we like to have a conversation with. I like to hear from them, and I'm hoping that you like to hear from them as well. And we have an old favorite here, not because he's old, just an old favorite, because he's been here a couple of times.
Listen, I'm not the oldest Lynch in the room. Let's put it that way.
You know what? I'm a Lynch, he's a Lynch. Well, what's up? We're probably related. Well, you know, I'm going to still call him DJ Toucan until he says, you know, you could call me a Lynch because on his Facebook, it's not Lynch.
No, just yeah, that was a joke that went wrong, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
all right. Well, welcome, DJ Toucan, first of all.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, you know, listen, man, you know, we've known each other for donkeys and everything like that. And what I really enjoyed about your recent interview here on the Discovering Show with James LeBeau is that I feel like, you know, you have a well of knowledge that I think would be really interesting to share. And I wanted to get a little bit specific with you in this interview because I'm actually working on a project with Black Facts called The Origins of House. And like, as we look at house and how its beginnings all around the world and in the Northwest and everything, you know, because you got Northern Soul, ska, punk, all these kind of things. House has become like a mulligan stew.
Yeah.
But it's not, every city had its own version. Yeah. Right. And so I was looking into like Liverpool and I'm thinking, now doing a project, you know, there's the shebeens. What you call them? The house clubs?
Well, we'd call it a blues party.
A blues party?
Day. So shebeens, from what I'm saying, are these after hours, unlicensed, unregulated.
In people's houses. Or in the clubs, like up and down Princess Avenue, like the Evo and all that other kind of stuff. Yeah. Now, I know you're not as old as me, but, you know, we're there.
Yeah.
Let's just hit that for a sample because Liverpool had its versions of public houses, which are now called pubs. But, you know, being a brother, going down to the public house in town wasn't really kind of like a welcome thing and everything else like that. And but we had, at the time, like in the 70s, we had a lot of ships coming in, American ships. And we also had Burtonwood.
Yeah.
Up in Warrington.
Up towards Warrington, yeah.
So the black GIs will come down into Liverpool and they will be told, yo, bro, you really want to go where the party is? Yeah. Got to go to the Tasses.
100%, yeah.
Is that about right?
That's right. And also did bring with them the music. So
exactly. Obviously. Well, you know, because, I mean, you know, Liverpoolians, they just love, they're like sponges, right? Yeah. They just love like the music, the clothes, the environment, the era of 100%. That period. Can you just tell us a little bit from your perspective? I mean, I know you probably was a little toddler running around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously the effects of that is still relevant today because there's one thing that I've noticed is that music across the board, whether it be house, whether it be hip hop, R&B, even like drum and bass and the heavier music, even like some of the indie bands in Liverpool. One of the things I've always noticed, and I think it's definitely as a result of what you mentioned before about the GIs coming through and bringing that music, is that Liverpool music always seems to have this soulful feel about it, no matter what genre it's in. Yeah, and I firmly believe that is a result of the years and years of the Americans passing through, bringing the music with them straight from the ships, straight from the US.
Straight from the vinyl.
Yeah,
just
so
put that record
these
on.
were imports before there was legally imports that were around in the UK. So I think the legacy of that has definitely had an impact on the music. And, you know, if you look at the likes of The Real Thing, which is normally a good go-to as far as showing how soulful Liverpool music can be, that is, you know, people didn't even know they were from the UK. Never mind from Liverpool.
Yeah, we're going to get into Real Thing because we want to get to the music artists and stuff like that, you know, because everybody, and this, when I was a documentarian, you know, doing a lot of this stuff and everything, I was getting all the interviews, you know, Wes Wilkie, you know, Sugar Dean and all these guys. And, you know, you have like these events put on, you know, Les Payne, you know, and all this kind of stuff where it's like, we want to talk about the music. And then once you mention the Beatles, these brothers would be like, you get me, right? And I can understand a little bit why, because the Beatles were just little guys from, you know, I don't know, I never took the Magical Mystery Tour, but they lived around Liverpool, right?
I mean,
but they were loving that urban music, let's call it.
100%. I mean, and they were influenced. I mean, you've heard the story again and again, as the famous hip hop song goes, but they were influenced by and in some ways taught by local black musicians. You know,
Exactly.
people like Woodbine, people like Pee Wee, whatever. These are all people that they looked up to, learn from, and they were influenced by. And they, you know, Paul McCartney will say it, and all, you know, whoever else will say it, that they were influenced by black blues artists and black rock and roll artists, the Chants, and even internationally, Little Richard and whatever. They were all influenced by these artists. What they became was phenomenal, you know. And Liverpool, although some people might get tired of hearing about them, there's no dispute that they're the biggest band to ever be in popular music, arguably. They broke all kinds of records, and Liverpool still benefiting from their success. But at the same time, it is a shame that the artists that they were influenced by and the musicians that they were influenced by locally didn't get their just rewards for being that important part of their journey.
Yeah.
And, you know, that is a shame. And, you know, that these are things that should be recognised now, because people talk about, you know, Pete Best, people talk about former Beatles managers quite often, and there's documentaries made about them and films made about them, but very little is done to sort of recognise the black musicians and the black artists that played a huge part of their success.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because I know you have to know Barbara Phillips.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, and she was the woman behind Positive Impact.
Yeah.
Which was bringing, like, trying to raise up, you know, continuing to paying it forward to the younger artists.
Yeah.
And everything. But her father was Lord Woodbine.
Yeah.
You know, and like the Beatles, you know, kind of like little Ketwick boys, you know, with that like mom had, wearing suits because of the vocal harmony stuff, right?
Yeah.
They needed a ride to Hamburg, which was supposed to be their launch, and that was Woodbine.
Wow, yeah.
He was the one who drove them to Hamburg.
Wow.
No credit whatsoever.
No.
I just want to say it every time I can.
Yeah.
Raise it up, bros. But so that being said, it's like, you know, when we talked about the Chants, they were enamored by the Chants. And the Chants had the Amu brothers, who went off and became the real thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they just had a documentary made. I haven't gotten a chance to see it yet.
Oh, it's incredible.
And everything.
Yeah,
I'm definitely,
really,
you know,
really
I'm definitely down for it. You know, it was only like one film premiere kind of thing. So, you know, brother got to find it where he could find it, right?
Yeah. I think
So
I just watched it on the iPlayer. It was on the iPlayer. So
yeah, I don't got TV. I only have a Roku from the hood. So anyway, it was a good movie though.
yeah. Oh yeah. Incredible. I mean, there's so much from it that I didn't know at all.
Really?
About the real thing. Yeah. I mean, I just know what a lot of other people know about the real thing before that.
Did he talk about the Chants?
They spoke about the whole, right? I mean, a lot of it was focused on the group and the individuals within the group, but yeah there was a mention about Liverpool's music history in it. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, but that's why But that's why I was like saying is that so we had all these, you know, musicians and artists, you know, doing their thing, inspiring and everything. But what we have pretty much is beyond the Beatles, we have the Mersey Beat, right? But then the Mersey Beat, you know, really kind of focuses on white artists, do you think, or the brothers? I've been to the Jacaranda.
Yeah,
I have not seen an album from the Academics, right? So I'm just trying to say.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, the Mersey Beats had their own artist. I couldn't really tell you about the artists who were under the Mersey Beat banner. If you mentioned some names, I'd probably go.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It is really kind of like who put the beat in Mersey Beat.
Yeah,
you know,
it's just not my. You know, it's just not the kind of thing that. I mean, in our house there was no Mersey Beat. Kind of music getting played.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
And a lot of my friends' houses, Mersey Beat music wasn't getting played. Like I say, if you tell me some artist, I'll probably go, oh yeah, I heard of that one.
I can't really. I wish I could. You know, but I mean, basically, I'm just trying to set the arena. So in this time frame, you know, pirate radio is on the rise, right? Because like. Some people, you know, everybody has a different version of pirate radio, but some people like to think, yeah, this is where I can hear my music.
Yeah.
I mean, would you agree? It's like,
100%.
You know, because Intensive, you know, they had pirate radio. So can you tell us about how that began or anything like that? Because I know it eventually became TTFN, and I think it's LCR now or whatever, or something like that.
Well, I mean, the first pirate radio station, because I think Liverpool was a bit late to the party when it comes to pirate radio station. It was something that well, not always, but it was something that existed in a lot of places where you had a large black community. So in London, you could spoil for choice for pirate radio, and that had been going on since probably early 80s, if not 70s. Liverpool, really, my earliest recollection of pirate radio in Liverpool was late 80s, mid to late 80s with TCR. And that was the first one. And the main people who I remember putting TCR together were Tony Mitchell, and who we lost, unfortunately, a few years ago. Stuart Hamilton was the main person involved in TCR. And
so can you just tell us, TCR, is that the community radio?
That was Talk Stuff Community Radio. That was the first, really pirate radio station that I can recall. And they had a campaign going on, and there was stickers, and obviously, as a pirate radio station,
they can only pay for maybe like a couple of weeks before they were shut down or something like that.
No, well, what would happen is that what would normally shut a pirate radio station down was the authorities. So DTR would be the company, would be the department that was responsible for identifying illegal radio broadcasting, and they would shut it down. And with Liverpool being really effectively a small, it's a large town rather than a big city in some respects. When someone opened a radio or started a radio station, a pirate radio station, it didn't take too long, unfortunately, for the authorities to find out and pinpoint where that actually was. You could move it around as often as you could, but you'd be easily identifiable, mainly because you were the only one that were doing it. Because in my recollection, I can't remember a time when there was two pirate radio stations that were happening at the same time. After TCR, we had we were involved in a pirate radio station called Shaka FM around 93.
Right.
And that ran between 93 and about 95. And again, we had lots of problems whereby no matter where we set up, it wouldn't take long before the authorities would find out where you were transmitting from. Even if you transmitted with 2 miles away from where you were broadcasting, they'd find out. And the only problem I say with Liverpool, with pirate radio, is because the way Liverpool is, this is a crazy thing, but it's actually true. Radio waves are very hard to travel across Liverpool because of the way Liverpool is shaped.
Right. Okay.
So as you're trying to put your radio waves across, you'll get parts of Liverpool that just won't get that radio station because radio waves is transmitted by waves. But that's, that's a different thing. But so Shaka FM. And then after that, really, it was mainly what they call the RSLs, radio station licenses. So we had so TCR came back as an RSL. So you'd get a 4-week broadcast. There was Slick FM, South Liverpool, something communications, Slick stuff for. Then there was TTFM, which was Talk and Talk Stuff. So
I'm glad I was worried that I got the name wrong.
No, yeah, you got to be careful how you say that, I suppose. Yeah. And then TCR very recently through Janice sort of resurfaced.
Yes, that's right. She's reinvigorated.
Yeah, which is good to see. But obviously back then, I think this is what you're saying at the head of the question was radio stations weren't playing the music that we wanted to listen to.
Yeah.
And there was no other alternative other than getting tapes from this place or tuning into Westwood once a week or tuning into Rodigan Rodigan was on a London station. So if you were in Liverpool, as far as getting the music that you like, you'd
like
have to
examples of what kind of music we talk about.
Reggae.
Yeah.
Soul. Even house to a degree.
But they not even play. They probably play Motown though. I mean, the regular radio stations. No.
Yeah, I mean, there used to be a station. There used to be a radio show on Merseyside by a guy called Telly Lenane who had a show called Keep On Trucking.
Keep on trucking, baby.
And but his show was a great soul show.
Really? Okay.
That was during the 80s. I can't remember what night it was on. I had the fortunate experience of meeting up with him actually when I was working on a station over the water. But so he had a great show. But it was only, and obviously James Class had radio shows.
I was hoping we were going to bring up the legend who was James Class.
Spycatcher had a spell when he was in City. So, and obviously a few people had spells. Charlie C had spells.
Charlie C, yeah.
But it was always small pockets, i.e. one show.
Yeah.
You know, we never had a station that was dedicated to the music that we wanted to listen to that you could have on 24 hours a day. That's where pirate radio came in, and it was successful at doing that. But unfortunately, what stopped that success was the authorities by closing these stations down. So people were,
For whatever reason,
yeah,
let's do it.
yeah, that's it. By all means, by any means necessary.
By any means. So does this bring us to the L100?
Well, yeah, it does in the sense that L100.
Hey, I'm just trying to give you a plug.
Yeah, I mean, all these things lead to
I
what
love to
we
hear
have
you
now.
plug Big Condo Online when you're back on L100.
I'm always giving you guys a shout out. Don't worry about
But
that.
no, I mean, from my understanding, I mean, you know, because I mean, obviously you've been a DJ and everything like that, and it's not pirate radio, but I mean, just tell us a bit about L100.
Yeah, well, L100 really is a platform for Liverpool and Merseyside urban artists. So it started off as just a small section of a show I had on radio going back a few years, and then, long story short, a couple of years ago I decided to take the plunge and make it an entire show that was just dedicated to Liverpool and Merseyside artists. Yeah. And since then, I haven't really looked back. Started off on KCC
Live. Why do you say it so slow, bro?
I know, because I was
still around.
Because we've been thrown around all kinds of TTFM, SLIC, so I was just getting falling over me letters. Yeah, so KCC Live, and then now I'm on Melodic Distraction. I've been there for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's been going really well. And, you know, it's a platform.
And they've also just moved as well.
Yet in the process of moving. I don't think they've made the full move yet, because I've been broadcasting from home since the lockdown.
Well, who hasn't,
I've
bro?
invested in
Except for us here at our studio. So that's all right.
Yeah, I've invested heavily in the home studio setup, so that's where I might be broadcasting for at least the next few months.
Weren't you on 7 Waves at one point?
Yeah, before it was Willow Radio. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, it was the same thing, but they changed the name and rebranded. But yeah, I mean, and that gave me my first experience of sort of having my own show, which I was totally responsible for, because before that, it was more of a team effort. So it was like a Lyrical Compact show, or
I remember Lyrical Compact.
I used to guest on Charlie C's show or wherever. So my first, I think that was around 2011, I had my first show on 7 Waves. That became Riddle Radio. And then, as I say, I was on KCC Live for a while, and then now Melodic. So radio now, for me, funny enough, I think this is 10 years, almost non-stop, doing a radio show in some form.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I've been here 20 years, and I mean, I've always encountered you and I think that's the whole deal, is that, the real deal is when people move around.
Yeah.
They don't just get hit and then sink. You know what I mean? So, that's why, I call it Back to Square One, because you just got to restart over here.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that kind of stamina. So, I mean, you're one of those brothers who's been out there. So, I mean, but again, as I was just saying, is back to the history, music, and kind of stuff. You were saying about House coming out of here, and I was just curious. You were telling us about the Cream Club, well, off camera. So I want you to get back to that one when you were talking about Cream.
It's just that we were speaking about, what kind of music is Liverpool sort of really identified with, and why Liverpool black artists and black music hasn't really been as successful as you would have thought it could have been, given the success of black music across the UK, certainly. But I think a lot of it, certainly early 90s up until now even, is that Liverpool, through the success of Cream, which I've got no beef about or bones about it, but through the success of Cream, Liverpool got sort of identified and put into a house music bracket. The same way I would say that Manchester, through the success of...
With the Hacienda?
But yeah, and it's the success of Oasis and their indie bands almost got quite an indie band reputation.
Yeah.
And I think black music from Manchester, certainly black hip-hop music and that kind of music, found it really hard to break out into the mainstream, because Manchester, people thought Manchester and straight away they think Oasis, do you know what I mean? Or they think artists like that, Ian Brown or whatever. So I think sometimes cities, I think Liverpool had it with Cream and house music, so you had some artists, quite a few artists, make big house music tracks and had huge success through house music and big house music events, because there was no brand bigger than Cream at one point. That was the brand. for house music, and you had people from all over the globe that were coming to Liverpool just to go to Cream. You know,
Right.
Kylie Minogue was a regular at Cream, to name many people.
So is this the 80s or
This was like early mid 90s, early to
90s?
mid 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Cream is a huge global success, huge brand. You know, still has. Obviously with Creamfields, which is
Yeah, I mean, see, I'm aware of Creamfields and
yeah,
everything
but
like
Cream
that.
as the club was it was on par, if not bigger than the reputation that the Hacienda
Wow.
had in Manchester.
Where was that? Was that the one that was down around Park Street?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, yeah, okay,
yeah,
and then it eventually became the Casimir, I think.
No, no. That's it. Casimir used to be called the Conti. When you hear people talk about the Conti,
Yeah.
that's where the Casimir became.
Sorry, peoples.
So yeah, so the Conti Club, which was an iconic black music venue, if you like, was situated right next to Cream, and both of them coexisted at one point for a little
Oh
short
yeah,
while.
yeah, okay.
For
No,
a short
no.
while, they coexisted, but Cream became an absolute phenomenon. And like I say, I think that was to the sort of detriment, I don't know if the right word, but really to the disadvantage, I would say, of black urban music in Liverpool, because
Really?
people wouldn't necessarily associate it with, like I said, with Manchester and indie bands. You know, I think sometimes a city can get a reputation, or can get labelled with a certain type of music.
Well, I mean, but I thought it was all about Matthew Street, you know, like in the Matthew Street Festival, which eventually now had become Lymph. But like, so I thought it was all about, you know, Matthew Street and that kind of vibe. So I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing what you're saying, and that just only means, I mean, I'm not hip probably, but on what you're saying. Now, let me ask you about, you know, because another thing about houses is that it became about the rise of the superstar DJ.
Yeah.
Right, you know, like, oh, I got to go to Ibiza, you know, Pete Tong and all that kind of stuff, and or Fatboy Slim and everything. Do you think there were like any superstar DJs coming out of Liverpool at any point in time in its history?
Again, I mean, house music is not my forte.
Well, yeah,
so,
but,
I mean, obviously, you know, the DJ Yusuf is a big name in house music. Obviously, recently, the guys from Camel Fat.
Camel Fat.
Yeah, they were nominated for the Grammy 2 years ago.
Wow.
And that is a combination of two guys who are from Liverpool.
Wow.
So, you know, the Liverpool sort of vibe and the artists from Liverpool are really making some. And I think there's a guy now in the charts who's only 17 years old, and he's from Liverpool, who's got a number one.
Wow.
So, you know, people are getting a lot of success, and people are a lot of, you know, doing very well in house music, but it's not the type of music that I can't really comment too much on, because of my lack of knowledge of that scene.
Well, I also think the thing about it is, about house is, like I said, it's a mulligan stew. Right?
Yeah.
It's not like there's like, oh man, there's this really, you know, hot house track, because it's all about that beat, right? So it's like that beat that's mixed and vibed, you know, but depending on the DJ or the place where you're at and everything. So it's not really like iconic in that way, where, you know, I can understand, you know, but you know, vinyl is your thing, because I know it's your thing. Because, you know, I mean, you know, it's not about the crate sellers, bro. You know, and I always like talking about like people's first vinyl and everything, you know, because it's just, I just think it's interesting. It kind of like informs you, right? So I remember you were talking, I think, about it, and you know, you're one of those brothers that got like an attic full of vinyl, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it used to be in the attic. Now it's got a nice home in the studio now. So yeah, it's finally
in the studio in the house.
Yeah,
the studio you're building, you mean?
Yeah.
Your partner probably said, no. Can you make bigger, thicker walls? You know, soundproofing, hun, please.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, vinyl has been, obviously, from the time that I was interested in music, vinyl was one of the only ways that you could buy music that you wanted. So this is before the CD era even. Obviously CDs then made a huge difference, and CDs have been around for a long time, but vinyl music held its ground. Vinyl records held its ground for a long time. But yeah, I spent a lot of time, money, and effort in putting that collection together.
Yeah.
And I still buy little bits now, and, you know, come Christmas and birthdays, it's normally on the
But
little list.
it's your thing, right? It's your tactile thing, the liner notes, reading the, looking at the covers and everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm gonna take you back. You didn't expect this one. So, what's your first vinyl, mate? Or let's say a vinyl that is in your memory. You could like describe the cover and all of that, and what it means to you, as far as the music that you love.
Okay. When you're talking about covers, at the first record I really bought that was sort of this is a difficult one because the first record I bought, funny enough, is something that you never ever hear of, and I don't know how many ever came out of these, and I'm not sure who released many of these, but I bought a Houdini EP on 7-inch.
Is it Big Mouth?
No, it was
Friends? How
Magic's
many
One.
of them?
No, it was Magic's One EP. I don't know if No Friends was on it.
I don't know. I'm just talking
Magic's
about Houdini
One.
songs.
You know Magic's One. Yeah, you know Magic's One. So
Yeah, well,
Mr.
yeah, but I mean-
Magic's One.
Yeah, but
Dun, 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 and
yeah.
so our
the two of
Michael, my brother, he had a decent record collection at the time. He had the 12-inch EP, but I bought the 7-inch, or people call them 45s. And it had a cover on it, and it had all the liner notes or whatever, and it was produced by and stuff like that. And then the first 12-inch single, I think I bought. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that because I remember the 7s at first, and then slowly started getting into. It might have been The Message actually. Grandmaster Melody. It might have been The Message.
Young bro.
That could have been the first 12-inch record that I bought. Then after that, obviously buying albums and stuff, and it was just the whole thing. You could look on the record, you could find out where it was, who produced what, you could find out where it was recorded, you could find out the shout outs, you could find out.
Dude, it's just before the phone. It's before the internet. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm a comic book kid, you know what I mean? So it's all about, getting the comic books and everything. But vinyl was like that, everybody's going into the shop, you're there, twisting it around. You got to look at it, you got to pull it out of the sleeve, and that's just what we did. It's like, we weren't that full of information as we are now, where you just pull out your phone and Google shit.
Yeah, I know. And I think a lot now, people listen to music, and I mean, I know from myself, sometimes I don't know who the artist is, because I listen to through Spotify and playlists. I've got to go and find out. I've heard the music, I've heard the song 3-4 times before I actually know who it is.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, you go and buy a record, you see the name of the artist, the name of the track, then you take it home and listen to it. So you've got some of that information beforehand. And the thing I always say as well is that for me, when I'm going for my record collection, it's almost like looking at photographs.
Yeah.
You pull out a piece of vinyl or a record or whatever, and you look at it, and it brings back memories of
That's what I mean.
when you got it, where you got it, who you was with when you bought it. You know what I mean? And what you was feeling at the time. And each record for me is like a photograph.
Yeah.
Now, because everything's digital, it's different. I wouldn't say it's worse, because I'm one of those people that things do change and things do move on, and you can't just keep on looking back and saying, "Oh, things were better then and things are rubbish now." Because no. I
mean, no, it's not. It's just like where you are, and where you were and everything. I mean, because I was like searching on this thing called the internet, right? Because the album cover that comes to my mind is the one that is like the D train on an elevated, train track, and it's like it's coming at you, so it's got the big D and everything. And I remember this cover vividly, and then I just made the assumption that it was Trans Europe Express by Kraftwerk.
Okay.
Right? But then when I search through Kraftwerk, that album cover doesn't come up.
All right.
Right? So I'm like, damn it. But, so for me, that album cover and that Trans Europe Express, because it goes all the way back to 76, bro. So, I mean, like, it's just vivid for me. But so now I'm on a quest for looking for that.
So you found it, so you still don't know what the album cover is from?
No, because I know it's been recreated. I know there are albums that have been recreated that has like the D Train thing because it's coming into the station.
Yeah.
And so I'm on a quest. So I'm saying it now for all you vinyl heads out there. Comment in the chat. It'd be nice. Help a brother out. I'm not going to buy it from you, though. I'm just letting you know that now.
Maybe someone might get it for you as a gift,
Yeah, that'd be nice. But, I'm still just like, I just want to relive the memory of that because that's what my whole point is that vinyl, the beauty of vinyl is like that. It's like sometimes it's putting that needle on the record. Sometimes it's just like flipping through your crates and stuff like that. And it is a special time for people of our generation is what I'm just trying to say.
It's a delicate thing. Vinyl's a delicate thing. There's nothing more annoying or heartbreaking than one of your favorite records getting a scratch because, whether it's a repeated scratch or it's a jumpy scratch or whatever. There's nothing worse because it's a delicate thing, so you've got to treat it. Because sometimes the way I see people take vinyl out of a cover just makes me cringe because I'm like, no.
Your thumbprints, bruv. Your thumbprints. All right.
Especially when people been eating.
Yeah. So one last question, because I've asked this of many a DJ or lover of vinyl and everything like that. And you got the new DJs out now, right? And they're using like the Seratos and the midis, whatever.
Yeah.
And they look kind of cute, pressing buttons. You know what I mean? Acting like, I'm bobbing and pressing a button and stuff. There are videos out there. Yeah. But I keep saying there is nothing about the sound of the needle hitting the record and having that little about 5-6 seconds opener, right? Just and then the song starts.
Yeah.
I just want to know your feeling around vinyl and that, you know what I mean? Like,
well, you know what? I mean, that
DJing.
That experience that you're saying, I think that is something that is really for the person who loves vinyl, who loves listening to it at home. Because if you're in the club, you don't want to hear. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Back in the days of reggae sound systems, when they would only have one turntable, then you would get that. But you'd have a selector. Well, the selector would be playing a song, but you'd have what they call a DJ, which is really what we call an MC. Yeah. They'd be speaking on the mic anyway. As far as technology, I can honestly say, and I think I'm qualified to say, because I've started off from a point where it was 2 turntables and a mixer, right the way through to what we have now. The skill of being a DJ does not get easier just because technology advances. You still have to understand how to mix a record.
Yeah.
What record mixes.
Yeah.
And what is better now, though, and what is incredible now is that you've got so much creativity at your fingertips. So in a DJ set, I can do things now in a DJ set that I could never, ever have done with just 2 vinyl turntables, with 2 Technics and a mixer.
Yeah. And a belt drive.
Yeah, well, if you go back to belt drive, that's where I started off on.
Dude, so, I'm old.
You know what I mean? But now technology allows you to be so much more creative, and it's if you don't embrace it, then you're not going to move on from where you are, because obviously things have always got better and better and better. So there was people DJing before XL 1200 Technics decks were made. Yeah. So when they came out, people were like, oh, there's a dinner. And even now, I mean, Serato was an amazing thing. That's been out for over 10 years. Yeah. And we thought it couldn't get any better than that. But now things are, again, developed again. Yeah. And now to turn up at a club, you just turn up with a pair of headphones and a USB. But that does not stifle the possibility of you being creative when you do your DJ set.
Because you still would have to mix that at home. Is that what you're saying? You still would have to put the mixes together.
You still got to organize your crates at home. Yeah. But the mixing and the creativity and the blending comes in via the tools, which are now the decks and the mixer before you. That is your like sort of creative desk. That is where you do. Yeah. That's where, it doesn't matter how much technology is in that. If you can't use it, then, Yeah. And like my daughter now, she's a DJ, as you know.
Yeah.
And she's now
Shout out to
teaching-
Hannah Lynch.
Yeah, big up to Hannah Lynch. And she's teaching the new generation.
Yeah.
And she's focused on teaching females who have been excluded from this pretty much over the years as far as DJ is concerned. And she's really, and now with the Girls on Deck program that she's been doing with Gaia, you know, we're seeing so many female DJs who wouldn't have been given the opportunity if it weren't for, you know, people like Hannah who are getting this, you know, sort of putting this thing out. So I think things are developing well. I think things are moving forward well.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's a lot more to see.
No, I hear you. Shout out to Culture Deck. They're
Yeah.
not giving us no shout out, but cool. We'll do it. But
sure
I mean, it's just the last thing I'm just saying is that, I mean, I know it's the weight, right? It's the weight of the crates.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, I remember the days because I used to DJ. My brothers and cousins was doing DJing and stuff like that. And it's just that whole thing of the spontaneity, I think, is what I'm talking about. Because if you made your mix and you got it in and you're playing your stuff, you know, there's going to be that moment that girl shows up at the counter going, "Can you play me?" You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then you got to go to get through your vinyl and shit like that. Pull it out.
Yeah.
I'm spinning it, baby.
Yeah.
Right? And it's all for you next. Right? You can't do that when you shit's pre-programmed.
No, you know, I think there's a bit of a misconception. When you have your music now in 2021 when you're DJing in the club,
I know. We're in
all
the
your
new
music is still individually in records. In separate music in your crates. It's just that rather than flicking through and pulling it out and playing it, you're flicking through your computer or you're flicking through your
Just
USB.
tell me, bruv, you love flicking through, right?
No,
Just be in my generation for a second, bro.
Yeah, you know
all
what?
right? I know we're in a new world.
Listen, well, you mentioned the weight before. I do not miss carrying four crates of
nobody
records to a club.
No.
I don't miss it. You know what I mean? My arms don't miss it. My shoulders don't miss it.
Oh, I know.
So, you know.
That's what you had to have your boys for.
No, the boys would be there when you're in the club and it's popping off.
Yeah, no, but no,
Soon-
man.
soon as the lights
Get
come
up
on.
here and help me carry these crates.
As soon as those lights come on, the boys are gone, and you're left with 4 crates of record to take to your car. 2 trips. Tell me about it. I've done it many times. And then from the car back to the house. And then
Oh, man.
I actually remember going DJing in Manchester once and took a crate of records, and it was the wrong crate.
Oh, no.
I opened the box, and I was like, oh, shit. I had to drive back to Liverpool.
You did not.
Yeah. It took me 20 minutes back,
Why?
20 minutes there.
I mean, did you happen to have a crate of poker?
No, because
Poker music. Why?
it was. I know I'd done a private party for someone, and it was someone's like at the time it was someone's 40th party.
Yeah.
So I took loads of 80s soul, and then we were booked to play in a venue that wanted the music today.
Dude, that's a little bit too older for me.
Yeah.
Don't play my granddad's song.
Yeah, so me and my boy turn up, and then he opens his crate, and I open mine. I'm like, nah. And
Did he have to play while you were on the motorway?
I said, give me 40 minutes.
Oh my God. I can't believe you did that, man.
And luckily, the car I had at the time was a courtesy car, so I thought, if this gets flashed, they don't back. They ain't coming back to me.
Hey, listen. I think I waited all show for a story like this. Because it's getting down to being with the real. You know, Merv, I just want to thank you for joining me here in the community podcast.
It's been fun.
You know, talking about, you know, house. And I mean, you know, listen, I think I love any time that we can talk about, you know, Liverpool, the soul of Liverpool, and like the legends. And you can only do that when people come in to do that. So I appreciate that. Pretty sure our audience will as well. So, like I said, thank you, Merv Toucan. I'm Chase Johnson Lynch. You've been watching Community Podcast. Please like and subscribe. Ring the bell. Make a comment, man. You know what I mean? I'm saying. Work hard for this. Work hard for our money, like Donna Summer. All right. So, I'm out of here.